The question is, do you agree that Scotland should be an independent country?
For me, the principle that we work best when we work together.
Well, they didn't.
Very serious.
The referendum. It seems to me that they're not dealing with the issues.
Hello, and welcome to the Scottish Independence Podcast's Workers' Day Special. Now, why a Workers' Day Special, I hear you ask? Well, I always thought that the least they could do is give us just one day, And I noticed a few years ago that in America they nominated the 1st of May two different things in an attempt to counteract the communist tendencies of Workers' Day. One of those is Loyalty Day, and one of those is Law Day, to respect your betters and so on. And I just don't think that cuts it, so I thought we'd do a little episode for Workers' Day, somewhat similar to the one I did for Christmas, where I just cut in a few of the better little speeches that you might have missed and things that I wasn't able to put in the podcasts in some way or another. So yeah, that's what this is. You should always start and finish with a song though, so I think the most appropriate one would be Dick Gaughan, the Workers' song, so we'll start with that.
We toil night and day, by hand and by brain, to earn your pay, who for centuries long past, for no more than your bread, have bled for your countries and counted your dead in the factories and mills, in the shipyards and mines. We've often been told to keep up with the times, but our skills are not needed. They've streamlined the job, and with slide rule and stopwatch our blind they have robbed. Aye, but when the sky darkens and the prospect is war, who's given a gun and then pushed to the fore and expected to die for the land of our birth, though we've never owned one handful of earth? We're the first ones to starve, we're the first ones to die, we're the first ones in line for that pie in the sky, and we're always the last when the cream is shared out, for the worker is working when the fat cat's about. Aye, and all of these things the worker has done, from tilling the fields to carrying the gun. We've been yoked to the plough since time first began, aye, and always expected to carry the can.
Okay, in case that was getting you a little bit emotional, I think I'd like to move on to something that's a bit funnier, because something that I've been dying to put on this for a long time is, I don't know if you caught our April Fool's special, but Doug Daniel, one of our contributors who made the meringue crack that's now quite famous, also sent me two alternative options, both of which were pretty funny in their own way as well. So right now I'll put one of them on and I'll put another one of them in later on. So I hope you enjoy this.
Well, Michael, as I said when I was on last time, I've always been in favour of independence, but that was before I knew the truth. Did you know that Alex Salmond is a fat Nazi dictator? That's what the unions have told me, so it must be true. I mean, can you imagine that? Not even Hitler went that far. I mean, okay, he was a Nazi, but he wasn't a dictator. And he certainly wasn't fat, because he was a vegetarian, and everyone knows Harold Bishop from Neighbours is the only fat vegetarian in the world. At least Hitler assumed power through a totally transparent and wholly democratic process. Not like Alex Salmond, who took over Holyrood through some kind of military coup or something. I can't actually remember it happening if I'm perfectly honest, but Anna Sawar said that Holyrood wasn't a democratic place in the normal sense of the word, and I can't think of any reason why he would say that if it wasn't totally true. So that's why I'm voting no in 2014.
So there you go, there's one from Doug Daniel, and I'll have another one later on. Now, in this show there's going to be a bit of campaigning as well, because at the beginning I told you that, I didn't like what they'd done with the May the 1st holiday in the United States with Law Day and Loyalty Day. But in Britain, it's just been reduced to what they now call Early May Bank Holiday. And it's supposed to be Workers' Day, International Workers' Day. Why is our holiday, the People's Holiday, reduced to just any other day when the bankers also decide to take a day off? It doesn't seem the best situation to me. And not only that, I appreciate the idea of a long weekend, and you get the third day, but it's supposed to be a special day. Workers all around the world, effectively, so why not May the 1st? Yeah, whatever day it falls, that should be the day. You can consider this a campaigning pitch for, in an independent Scotland, it's the 1st of May, that's the holiday, not the nearest Monday to it. And if it falls on a weekend day, then we'll have the Monday as well, because at the moment the United Kingdom has the fewest public holidays of any country in Europe, so you can add that one in as well. The next thing up is it's Workers' Day, so I suppose we have a little word from the trade unions. Here's Kat Boyd at the Radical Independence Conference.
Thanks very much for inviting me to speak today. My name's Kat and I've been involved in the Radical Independence campaign in Glasgow, mostly around trade union issues and anti-cuts campaigns. I'll try not to take up too much time, and I just wanted to outline some of the reasons why I'm going to be voting yes, and why I think that it's important that the trade unions start to say why people should vote yes. And it's because the principles of the trade union movement are actually right at the heart of what independence is about. So I've been involved in the trade union movement for several years now. I work in a low-paid public sector job, and we're constantly facing attacks on terms and conditions, pay, pensions. My union, PCS, are involved in an industrial dispute just now because the government are actually refusing to negotiate with us whilst they're attacking our holiday entitlements, sick leave entitlements, basically just coming after our terms and conditions. They're refusing to have the trade union anywhere near them. I think that tells you something about the Westminster government's attitude towards democracy and to trade unionism. So as a trade unionist, I always try and uphold the principles, the broad principles of trade unionism, and that's justice, equality, solidarity and internationalism. And I think these are the principles that led me to be a supporter of independence, and to particularly be involved in the Radical Independence campaign, getting out there and meeting people and speaking to people out with people who are not members of mainstream political parties. I think that's really, really important. So, across the trade union movement, we've fought a constant battle for many, many years now, long before I was even in work, with successive governments who have ignored demands, humiliated us with anti-trade union legislation and crossed our picket lines. And I see this is a battle that's been fought all the time on their terms, the government's terms. With the powers of independence, we can start to fight back on our own terms. Now, the trade union principle of internationalism, I think, is really, really important. So in the trade union movement, we reach out to trade unions in Europe that are on strike. On the 14th of November last year, there was a European-wide strike. Things like that, we're always trying to link up with other struggles, because it's not really about nations or borders. And independence for me isn't about breaking with people in England and Wales. It's not about that. This is, I think, partly what the No campaign tries to put across, is some kind of tearing apart of ordinary people, but it's not. But a border has already been drawn. Britain is already broken. And it's not a border of nations. A border is being drawn between workers, the unemployed, disabled, students, families on one side, and on the other, the insatiability for wealth and the greed of the City of London. And I just wanted to, I'm not usually a big fan of statistics, But I think there's some things that I'd like to go over, and that's the Sunday Times Rich List was published, I think it was about a week ago, and it showed there are now a record number of billionaires in Britain, 88 billionaires. Average workers' wages have risen 0.8%, but the Sunday Times Rich List combined wealth has risen 35 million. And this is all at the same time that George Osborne, who I'm quite certain in saying that no one in this room voted for him, announces over £10 billion of welfare cuts. So as a trade unionist, I look at that and I think, well, where is the equality? Where is the justice? And that's the thing, they're not listening to what some of the largest organisations, some of the most democratic organisations have to say. Britain is the 5th richest country in the developed world. Britain is also the 4th most unequal country in the rich world. Benefit fraud, for example, we hear this all the time about all benefits and scroungers and all this. Benefit fraud costs about £1 billion. See, just to put that in context, tax avoidance by many of those who are on the Sunday Times Rich List is in the region of £70 billion. And I think we need to start saying that it's the rich we can't afford in this country, not people that need to rely on the welfare state. A vote for independence can bring about real radical change. It can shift this pattern, this road that we seem to be forced down just now. And I don't want to go on too much, and I just wanted to talk a wee bit about like radical independence and what that kind of means to me. And I think we hear in the press about Scotland from the No campaign, from the biased media, that Scotland too wee, too poor, too stupid. And I think we all know that Scotland is a rich country. We can say that Scotland is a wealthy country, but that's not enough. It's not about how wealthy we are, it's about how we distribute that wealth. Using that wealth to benefit the majority of people, using that wealth to create jobs, to invest in green energies, and to invest in public services. I'll finish on this. I was at a bedroom tax meeting where Susan was speaking and Len McCluskey was speaking as well. Len McCluskey is the General Secretary of United Union. And I know that no trade union as yet, UK-wide trade union, has come out in favour of independence. And Len McCluskey is not exactly seen as the most pro-independence person ever, but he said something that really grabbed me, and sometimes clarity and inspiration just comes from the most unlikely sources. So he was talking about the bedroom tax and the Scottish fight back against the bedroom tax and how it's so important that we are mobilising and going to Holyrood and saying no to bedroom tax, no to evictions, that this is not fair, and for us to be part of that UK-wide fight. And then he said, I wish you the best in your fight here in Scotland. Make the bedroom tax unsustainable and unworkable up here, and at the very least, this will give a lead to the rest of our nations. And for me, this concept, this concept from Len McCluskey about solidarity is so important, because that's what it's about, is let Scotland lead the way to a fairer, more just society. And through the Radical Independence campaign, I think that this is how this is possible. Changing the direction of the path that we're on, changing the narrative about austerity. Ordinary people don't create economic crisis, and we won't pay for them. Tonight's meeting, as James already said, there's been lots of these kind of meetings across Scotland. We need a diverse independence movement. We need it to be more than just about political parties. Given the economic crisis, we need to start talking about radical solutions to move forward, and the Radical Independence campaign, I think, is the start of this process to empower people and to give a platform to radical political ideas. So, the trade unions, see, when I talk about trade unions, everyone kind of rolls their eyes a wee bit, because I guess they are kind of seen as a bit of a, an old-fashioned organisation, an old Labour tradition, but these are the largest democratic organisations in the country. The principles of equality, of justice, of solidarity and internationalism, that's what's at the heart of the Radical Independence campaign. In 2014, we have everything to vote for. For the first time, I feel like I've got something to vote for. A different economy, a different society, a different world. Another Scotland is possible, and we can really make this happen. Thanks.
I got a few nice emails about